There are 3 things men need to know about where women want to meet guys. I've helped men attract the women of their dreams without saying a word for more than 25 years. At the end of this video, I'll share my controversial take on the best place for guys to go who don't have a lot of experience meeting women. So stay with me until the end of the video. All right, so where women want to meet men. Here's the truth. The answer is just about everywhere, even if it makes you look foolish, and where they are unlikely to be receptive. So most women think it's flattering, even if she doesn't find you attractive. You got to think about it yourself. If a bunch of women were approaching you and telling you how attractive you were, whether you found them attractive or not, it's probably, you're probably going to feel like it's a compliment. I will say this though, women want that meet cute story that they can tell their friends. You know, dating apps are not really the best meet cute story. If you think about it, you know, they want that story that they can tell their parents, and that they want a story that they can, you know, it makes it seem like they weren't even looking for a connection, and just like Snow White, you just happen to appear as Prince Charming. I'll tell you guys a story about this woman that I ended up dating for 2 years, and the meet cute story she used to tell. How we actually met is there's a bar that's about a half a mile away from my front door. So I would stop by there every now and then, and one day I walked in there and I saw a coworker of mine, and he was there with his girlfriend. Well, little did I know that would end up being my girlfriend about a year and a half later. So he introduced me to her at that point. And then at some point later on, they broke up, and she started working for the same company he and I were working for. So we became coworkers. One day I was at her manager's desk talking with him, and she sat right next to him, and she knew I had a motorcycle. So she basically invited herself for me to take her on a ride on my motorcycle. And she did this right in front of her manager. So it was an awkward situation. I didn't want to, you know, turn her down. Whereas normally I wouldn't ask a woman out who I work with, but since she asked me out and it was sort of a high pressure, peer pressure moment, I said yes, and I ended up taking her out. We ended up having a years-long relationship. So I certainly learned from that. But here's the thing, she used to tell folks how we met was that we met at work, which wasn't true. And she also told people that I asked her out, which also wasn't true, but that gave her the meet cute story that she wanted to tell, even if it was embellished quite a bit. So that's just an example of the kind of meet cute story women want to tell. Now, the idea here is you want to go somewhere women go where they wouldn't mind telling their best friend or their mother that's where you met. First, you have to be ready from a psychological, emotional, and physical standpoint as soon as you open your front door. Let me tell you a story about a woman who I met when she was delivering groceries to my front door. Now I gotta tell you guys, when I opened my front door, I really wasn't ready to see a beautiful woman delivering my groceries. I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, answered the door with no shirt on. She seemed not to mind very much, and you know, we exchanged some pleasant smiles as I was taking the groceries from her and placing them inside. I exchanged some verbal pleasantries, and I said to her, hey, listen, I'd hate to miss the opportunity for us to not ever see each other again, because you seem like a really attractive person and very nice. Would you mind if I gave you a call? And she said yes. We exchanged numbers. Now, granted, we never ended up going out because she lived so far away from where I lived. It wasn't really practical, but I was in a state where eventually I was psychologically, emotionally, and physically ready at that moment to ask her for her number, even though I wasn't expecting that to happen. I also want to tell you guys about, on the other side, another story where I was running my errands on a Saturday, and one of those errands was to take the car to the car wash. So I pull up at the car wash to vacuum the car, and there was a very tall, beautiful woman vacuuming her car next to me, and I noticed her. We exchanged a smile, but I was so focused on getting my tasks done that I didn't really pay much attention to the nonverbal communication that she was giving me. But as I was leaving, I was backing out, I actually drove away and I noticed her looking at my car longingly as I was driving away. I actually stopped and thought to myself, maybe I should back up and go ask her for her phone number. But at that point, the moment had passed and I said to myself, well, if it was meant to be, it would have been so. But I think the reason I'm telling you guys this story is because I want you to be prepared whenever you open your front door, because that could be the moment where the woman of your dreams is in front of you and it's your opportunity to initiate that conversation or encourage her to initiate that conversation with you. All right, second, it's helpful if you notice her first, but it's not necessary. You know, what ideally you'd like to do is position yourself in proximity to make triggering a conversation more likely. But you don't have to notice her first. I'll tell you guys another story of recently as I'm cleaning my motorcycle in the parking lot. One of my neighbors drives by, she stops, rolls down her window and she says, "Hey, can I get a ride?" And she initiated a conversation with me, very attractive woman who I wouldn't have noticed. She was in her car, dark tints. I wouldn't have noticed anything about her. And honestly, I'm not even sure she noticed my face or what have you. But she did see me and saw the bike, which is what the catalyst of that conversation. Now, I'm sure if she saw a guy who was very unattractive or imposing, scary, she probably wouldn't have stopped. So there was probably some sort of awareness of my physique or my attractiveness that she picked up on, which encouraged her to stop and initiate that conversation herself. So you don't always have to be prepared or even notice the woman first, but you certainly want to be ready from a psychological, emotional, and a physical standpoint as best you can. If you're intentionally seeking an opportunity to meet a woman, you might want to skip places where the chances of success are lower. By the way, my name is Kirk, and my mission is to help you meet the woman of your dreams. I used to be invisible to women. Now, women approach me without me having to say a word. And I've been able to teach countless men how to do this as well. So let's make finding the right woman for you as easy as possible. Please give me feedback on this video in the comment section so that I have a good understanding about what's important to you when it comes to meeting the woman of your dreams. All right, guys, so ideally you want to go to a place that is what I deem a target-rich environment. These are places where women are likely to be sitting or standing for several minutes at a time. Now, this could be a coffee shop, it could be a restaurant, food courts, especially if there's a communal table there where sitting next to people who you don't know is what is expected. Dog parks are a good one, and obviously parties, concerts, or other social events. Now, the ratio matters. The more balanced or female biased the environment, the better your chances of success when initiating a conversation. And guys, I want to clarify, when I say initiating a conversation, I don't mean that you need to be the first person to say something. What I see as the ideal position is for a woman to initiate a conversation with you because she finds you attractive without you having to say a word. So just want to make sure you guys know, initiating doesn't necessarily mean you have to say something first. Ideally, she's going to speak before you do. Now, if you've made it this far in the video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you've liked what you've seen so far. But now on to my controversial take. So my controversial take here is meeting at a bar is going to be a recommendation for men between the age of 30 and 64, which is based on my own personal experience and that of my clients, friends, and family, but also the Pew Research data that's shown here. Now you gotta ask yourself, why do bars get such a bad rep? I think it is because it implies the person who you meet there is an alcoholic or promiscuous, but you gotta think about it. If you're there and you're a good person, she could be there too and also be a good person. So that's why I don't prejudge meetings at a bar or a restaurant, something like that, where alcohol may be involved, but there are some things to keep in mind when meeting a woman at a bar. Keep in mind, the highest probability for success is being introduced, even if it's by someone you met that night. So I do want to tell you guys about another story where I was introduced to a woman I ended up dating for 3 years by a guy I met that night. So one of the things that I encourage you all to do in order to meet women without having to say a word is to befriend guys who are at the venues where wherever you are. So one night I'm hanging out at a bar and I met a guy. We had a good conversation and he says, "Come on over. I want to introduce you to my friends." And one of his friends was the girl that I ended up dating for 3 years. And had I not initiated a conversation with him and had such a good conversational flow with him, he may not have introduced me to this woman who actually had a pretty significant impact on my life. So I do want you guys to remember the highest probability of success is by being introduced to the woman of your dreams by someone who you could have met just minutes earlier. Now, as we look at this Pew Research data, there is a possibly a higher statistical probability for success by getting introduced to someone when you are at work or at school, as you look at the study's findings here. But it's the idea that you don't poop where you eat that I would say I caution you all on. And I know I told you guys a story about a woman who I dated while we worked together, and that actually was a years long and positively impacted my life. But I would say, generally speaking, I probably would avoid that, at least avoid recommending that. And here's why. If the introduction doesn't go well, you don't have to worry about seeing that person all the time. And if you do initiate a relationship, if that relationship doesn't go well, you don't have to worry about seeing her at work all the time. Also, there is the inherent benefit of meeting at a bar if you choose to have a drink. Now, I do want to encourage you guys to always drink in moderation or drink non-alcoholic beverages, including water, or just having a water between your alcoholic beverages to maintain that nice equilibrium. Now, having a drink can lower your inhibitions, which can lead you to being less anxious and appearing more confident. You also want to go to bars. If you're uncomfortable with the bar setting in general, you may want to go to bars earlier and leave before it gets too busy if that's what you're more comfortable with, so give that a try. Now, whether you're at a coffee shop or at a bar, you will want to start small, but you want to be bolder than you normally would be. You want to practice making and holding that eye contact for at least 1 second more than normal. Practice adding a smile before breaking eye contact. It would be great if you had a smile all the time or most of the time, so that way when you make this initial eye contact, it's not like eye contact then smile. It's smile first, happy, positive vibes, and then the eye contact. So that would be ideal. Also, try adding a wave or a head nod to get her attention. Wave her over if you're feeling good about the eye contact that you've had. Raise a glass or send a drink over to her and see what her reaction is. These are all great ways, whether you're at a bar or a coffee shop, to have a conversation be initiated with you without having to say a word. Keep in mind, the idea here is you want to encourage her to look at you for 1 second longer than a woman normally would. Encourage her to smile at you before any words are exchanged by keeping that confident eye contact and engaging with a smile right off the bat. Right now, I'm preparing to launch a workshop that will allow me to directly share some of the basics from my 3-pillar approach to attracting women without saying a word through fitness, fashion, and finesse. But I want to hear from you. What are your biggest challenges that you're facing when it comes to meeting women? You can set up a time to speak with me directly by using the link in the description. You can also simply leave a comment on this video letting me know what's your biggest challenge when it comes to meeting women, or suggest a topic for a video that you would like to see. If you found value in this video, please give it a like. Thanks for watching.